later today, quarterbacks, wide receivers, and running backs are going to be working out the NFL Combine, and I thought now would be a good time to talk about the Bears' #1 overall pick and the options that they have. For some people, it seems as simple as take this one quarterback, trade Justin Fields, move on. But it's not that simple. There's a lot of moving pieces to it, to where the Bears might not make a choice until the week of the draft. That's how much has to go into this #1 overall pick, and for the Bears to make sure that they get it right. Now, let's talk about their options, and I'm not going to say what I think is going to happen. I'm just going to say what's most likely going to happen. And we're going to start off with the one everyone knows, taking Caleb Williams, #1 overall, and trading Justin Fields. Now, with Caleb Williams, yes, he has been in the headlines at the Combine for some people think, the wrong reasons. Now, he's not working out, which, that's fine. That's fine. We've seen a lot of top quarterbacks not working out at the Combine. That's not really a big deal. But it's the medical evaluation, or the lack of on his part, that's really got people thinking if that's a character concern or not. For Williams, he's not participating in medical evaluations at the Combine. He's waiting until he meets with NFL teams to do that. And as he puts it, 32 teams can't take him, only one team can take him. You know, I don't think it's that much of a big deal as people think, because, I mean, he's right. He is right. He's projected to be the top quarterback taken off the board. He's projected to be the #1 overall pick. So how many teams do you really think are going to evaluate him medically? Probably none as much as we would like to think. And I completely understand it. He's treating it like a business decision. The NFL, at the end of the day, is a business. That's how he's treating it. I completely understand where he's coming from. I don't think that's a character concern. Now, whether he's got character concerns or not, again, that's up for debate. What matters is the NFL teams, what they think at the end of the day. It's what they think. Now, in terms of talent, he's an insanely talented quarterback. We saw it from his freshman year at Oklahoma. And we saw when he transferred to USC. He's been a very talented quarterback. You can say all you want about USC's record this year, but I don't put as much blame on Williams as I do the terrible defense that they had. But that's another story. For the Bears, they have to do the evaluation, and they have to figure out whether they trust Williams enough to take him #1 overall, and whether they trust themselves to develop him, because Chicago's track record hasn't been that great when it comes to quarterback. But it only takes one guy to fix that, and maybe Williams is the one to do that. Now, they take Caleb Williams #1 overall and trade Justin Fields. They have to get him an offensive line. They got to fix up that offensive line. I'll talk more on that when I do my free agency preview. That's going to be coming up next. But with trading Justin Fields, what do you trade him for, and who do you trade him to? We've heard Atlanta, we've heard Pittsburgh, heck, we've even heard New England. Do you try to get a first-round pick out of him, or do you just take a day 2 pick? Personally, I do think he's worth at least a day 2 pick. Maybe you could squeeze a late first out of him, but I wouldn't push it, because if you take Caleb Williams #1 overall, you know teams are going to know that, and they know they're going to want to trade him. But whatever they decide to do with Fields, whatever they decide to get for him, who's he going to? Could it be Atlanta? Possibly. Pittsburgh? Maybe they think Kenny Pickett's not going to develop. New England? That's definitely a possibility. Or some wildcard team. We've seen that before. That's really what the Bears have to figure out. Now, let's talk about it. They decide to trade the #1 overall pick for the second year in a row. That'd be nuts if they did do that. But who do you trade that to? Do you just do a flop with Washington, or do a flop with New England where you still have a top 3 pick? Or do you trade down as far as #8 with Atlanta? Who knows? Really, who knows what the Bears do? How far down are you willing to trade? Personally, I wouldn't trade down so far as to where you're going to lose the players that you want to get. There's going to be a certain number of players that the Bears are going to want to take. It's not just going to be them going after one player. It's going to be them looking at multiple guys and making sure that they can get at least one of them. So it's got to be at a spot where they're comfortable. Wherever that is, I don't know. But that's what happens when you trade down. You have to make sure you're going to get the guy that you want where you trade down. And again, wherever that is, they have to figure that out. But there's also a third option. What if they keep the number 1 overall pick and just take the best player that's on my board? No, Caleb Williams is not the best player in this draft in my eyes. That's Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State. So they keep the number 1 overall pick and keep Justin Fields, and they just take Marvin Harrison Jr. Think about a duo of Marvin Harrison Jr. and DJ Moore, and then throw in tight end Cole Kmet. That's a pretty good receiving trio, if I do say so myself. And even so, the offensive line still has to be fixed in free agency, and they still have the number 9 overall pick. Maybe they take the top offensive lineman on the board. I don't know, but they have to get that offensive line fixed. But having Harrison, Moore, and Kmet, that is a really good receiving trio. I know I'm repeating myself, but a quarterback can work with that. They really can. For those of you that don't know, Darnell Mooney was the second leading wide receiver for the Bears last year. Cole Kmet was the second leading receiver, but again, he's a tight end. DJ Moore had over 1,000 yards more than Mooney last year. So it was really just Kmet and Moore on the receiving corps. And adding Marvin Harrison Jr., you get 2 number 1s and one of the better tight ends in the NFL last year. I mean, a quarterback can work with that. If Justin Fields can't work with that, then he's not going to be at least an above-average starter in this league. But again, that's a risk. And when you have the number 1 overall pick for the 2nd year in a row, do you really want to take that chance? Or do you just want to start the clock again with the quarterback contract? That's why it's more than likely that they're going to take Caleb Williams number 1 overall. And then, if they don't, it's more likely that they're going to trade down rather than them staying at the number 1 overall pick and taking Marvin Harrison Jr. Because again, for a lot of people, Caleb Williams is the top player in this draft. He's not the top player on my board, but for a lot of others, he is. Alright, that was me going through, just having a discussion about the Bears' options at the number 1 overall pick and what's most likely going to happen. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Did I miss any points? And as always, I'll see you guys next time.